Okay, it's getting towards evening. Maybe a good time to go take a hike or walk. A walk? You want to go for a walk? We just step out the back door here. And out past the old shed. This is a shed that Cheryl and her ex-husband built when they first moved onto the property. I guess that was about 20 years ago. They needed something temporary to live in, so they built this little one-room shack, and I guess they lived in this for about 6 months while they built the house. And go down, this is the ATV trail out the back. And up here is our Fossil Hill. We call it Fossil Hill. We look for some rocks that are kind of gray. We usually can see some fossils in them somewhere. Let's see here. Well, here's kind of one here. You can see the outline of shells, some sea life. These gray rocks used to rest on the bottom of the sea that was here. I don't know how many millions of years ago, but here's another one. You can barely make out some outlines of seashells. And once in a while you can run into a really good one. Here's some more here. I was looking for trilobites in here, but the local geologist said, well, that happened way before the time that these rocks were formed. Trilobites go back 500 million years, something like that. These rocks here are only about 100 million years old. We'll continue down here. And this is called Martys Trail here. Marty put this trail in for us so we can take our ATVs down here. And unfortunately, Marty was the one who was killed in an automobile accident just a couple of months after he put this trail in for us. He was one of our renters in the guest house. So, you know, I don't feel sorry for him. He's better off. He had a drug addiction problem, married to a terrible woman, could never hold down a job. But he helped quite a bit around here so he could help pay the rent. And we'll go down here. Okay, this is where the lake used to form. I believe the lake level, where did the lake level came up to about right here. You can see where all the driftwood has accumulated. Right along here. This is the lake level during the rainy season. And from here on, we just had a lake. We could bring the boat down here and scud off to the lake. And I've got some more dead trees down here, which is good for firewood. There's some here. They're just laying around down here. I just bring the chainsaw down here and start hacking into these logs. This one, this is a dead tree that just came down a few months ago here. So this is a trail that comes off this road here comes off of Old Highway 91. Comes up through here, and it's used for horseback riding, ATV riding, walking, hiking, and once in a while you see great big rocks like this, granite rocks. Where did this thing come from? A great big granite boulder. We live right next to what they call the Black Ridge, which is all volcanic cliffs, rocks, and things. So this guy here must have been spurted out somewhere and it landed here thousands of years ago. And I don't know where the dogs went. There's one up there. But I'm going to have to start cutting trees here pretty soon for our firewood. This is the middle of August. Coming back down here through the evening twilight time. I brought Glenn. Was it Glenn down here? I used to read a book to him called The Spooky Forest. The Spooky Old Tree. Yeah, The Spooky Old Tree. And just walking through here at nighttime is spooky. So we'll venture up here along. In all the years that I've been here, hiking around down here, I've only seen one rattlesnake. And he was a big guy. And he wanted to get away from me as fast as he could. But most other times, all we see down here are little water snakes, maybe a tarantula or two if we're lucky. They usually start coming out in the evening. And this whole area we're walking through right now forms lake during our rainy season. Kind of a shallow lake right here. It gets deeper as we go downstream. We're headed upstream right now. Maybe we can go over and see the riverbed, Ash Creek. Ash Creek right now is completely dry. And you can tell down here in the soil, it's not soil, it's sand. This is all sand. That's because when there was a lake down here and it drained off, the water would kind of come down here in a real slow moving type water and deposit a lot of sandy particles. So right now this is mostly a lot of sand. The dogs love to come down here. Once in a while we'll run into a deer. It'll jump out behind the bush, scare all of us. Now we're starting to see some really old cottonwood trees. This is one of the big ones that are down here. I bet that thing's older than I am. There used to be a picnic table under there, but it looks like it all fell apart. What are the dogs barking at? Come here. Come here, doggies. Here an ATV going up the Ash Creek over there. Diego, come here. Come here. Good boy. Good boy. Stay. Stay here. Stay here. Stay here. It's like we have a bicyclist up here.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Just out biking.
Well, good. Good area to bike in. Let's see. You're
Harrison.
Harrison. Okay. I'm Roger.
Nice to meet you.
Brother Semester.
I live all the way up on 3000.
Oh, so you're a ways
Yeah.
away. Well, good.
Come down here because it's nice and cool.
It is, isn't it? Right
Yeah.
during the summer. We're trying to catch a deer down here. There's been some big bucks.
Oh yeah.
I keep the camera going, we might get one. Okay, Harrison.
Right,
Have a good time.
you.
Our renter, Valerie, she brings her horses down here quite most often. They're just right next to the property, and they can take their horses for a ride at least twice a week. They have to do that. Yeah, let's see. This goes over to Ash Creek. I'll show you where that is. But there is plenty of wood down here to cut for fireplaces. But I never cut down a tree. I don't have to cut down a tree. I just look for the dead ones that are already down. So this is what's left of Ash Creek, which is completely dry. If we get a very good rainstorm in the mountains, we get a pretty good flow. Then during the rainy season, this place is a torrent. The lake level comes to about right in this area right in here, the upper edge of the lake, when we do have a rainy season. Come on. Let's see, we can take a trail that goes up the mountain from here, but that takes a while. Or we can take the trail to the right, and that'll take us up to the meadow. Here's an old cattle guard, or not cattle guard, but a fence. This has been here for a long time, made out of old telephone poles. And they used to run cattle down here. Posted. This is for the guy who owns the property on this side of the land. So they keep the hunters out. There's another old oak tree Oh, not an oak tree. It's a cottonwood. And when they get so old, a big windstorm comes along and it blows them down. Right here used to be an old cottonwood tree. It was blown down a couple years ago. The trunks on these trees are just tremendous. But here you can see half the tree is still alive, even though half of it came down. The other half is still growing. We'll go up here on the meadow. And the evening is setting. The fellow who owns this land raises barley and wheat. I don't know what is this, about 20 acres. And there's the mountains. If we go right there, that tip right there is one tip of the Colobs. This whole range of mountains right here, the geologist says, is the end of the Colorado Plateau. This is the west end of the what they call the Colorado Plateau. Walk up here a little further. Coming up further up here, we run into another meadow. More pasture land. This was recently developed into a hay growing field. This area was just all once weeds. Now we're getting a little closer to the Colobs. There's the tip of the Colobs. There used to be a house up here. The guy bought the property, bought the house and the property, bulldozed down the house. It's a pretty nice house. And put this land into a hayfield, barley and alfalfa. And looking down there is the other meadow that we just came across. On there. And some of his farm equipment. I was hoping to see a deer by now, but I don't. Usually the dogs go ahead of me and they scare the deer off. There's some more homes up here. That's Coach's home. He's a retired athletic instructor. And next home over is Bill Lane's home. He's a retired Los Angeles detective. That's where we have our New Year's Eve party. Every New Year's he throws a big party at this house. That home up there used to belong to Cyril Lansing Jones, who was a famous sculptor. But he retired and moved to California. And coming around the bend here, I think we'll turn around right here. We've come about 3/4 of a mile from our home. And this is where we bring our radio-controlled boats. I don't see any guys up here. And we have our little duck pond. And where are the ducks? Where are the ducks? It's gone down quite a bit. It's the last end of the winter time. And there's our ducks. Not as many as we had 2 weeks ago. We had a good 2 dozen ducks up here. But they like ponds like this around. Use them to fight fires. The helicopters come in here and dip their buckets in and off they go. Luckily, we haven't had any fires yet. Boy, we're keeping our fingers crossed. This place becomes a beehive once the fire gets going. And what do we have up here? Like, he is flying north up to Cedar City. That's north. It looks like he came from St. George. So we'll call it a good walk for right now. And we'll head back home and have some, maybe a good glass of apricot nectar or something. And start bundling up for the nighttime. So that's our walk for the day.